In this lesson, we're going to write equations for perpendicular lines. Let's go ahead and review what we know about perpendicular lines. Remember that perpendicular lines have the opposite reciprocal slopes. So if we came and we took the slope, we went down 2 and over 1. So this line right here, we have a slope of -2 all over 1, or -2. Where our line GH has a slope, if we took 2 points here, I'm going up 1 over 2. So our slope for here is equal to 1 all over 2. All right, so we had slope was -2 all over 1, and then we had the slope of the next line was 1/2. Remember we said the opposite reciprocal. So we're looking for the opposite is the positive and negative part. So notice how one of our slopes is negative and then the other one is positive. And also notice that we have the reciprocal or the flip. So we had -2 all over 1 or 2 all over 1, and we flip that, and the reciprocal of 2 all over 1 is 1/2. So the slopes of perpendicular lines are the opposite reciprocal. All right, so how do I write an equation of a perpendicular line given the y-intercept? So first of all, our first line is y is equal to 3/4 x plus 5. And what that looked like on the graph is we had a y-intercept of 5, and then we had a slope 3/4, and so we went up 3 over 4, and so we've got this line that looks like this. So what we're having to do is we're having to write an equation that is perpendicular to this line right here, and it has a y-intercept of 3. So the first thing we would want to do is to identify the slope of our perpendicular line. So let's go ahead and write perpendicular slope, and what that's going to be equal to. So because our slope of this line right here is 3/4, we need to find the opposite reciprocal. And the opposite of positive is negative. And then we have to take the reciprocal or the flip, and it's going to be 4 all over 3. So our new equation is going to have a slope of -4 all over 3, and then they're telling us that we have a y-intercept of 3. So let's go ahead and graph that line. So we're going to start this one on the 3, and then I have -4 all over 3 slope. So I'm going to go down 4 and over 3. And now when I then draw my line here, this is what that'll look like. And notice how you have, if our lines were straighter, it'd be more exact, but we have a right angle there. So our new equation of this line then, using the slope of -4/3 and a y-intercept of 3, is y is equal to -4 all over 3x plus 3. All right, number 2. So we're going to write an equation for a line that is perpendicular to this line right here, and it has a y-intercept of 7. So the first thing we need to identify then is we need to find the slope of the perpendicular line. So let's go ahead and put perpendicular slope. And the slope of this line right here, the one that was given, is -2. And so we need to find the opposite reciprocal to that slope. So the opposite of negative is positive, and then we're going to find the flip, or the reciprocal, of 2 all over 1 is 1/2. So our new line that's going to be perpendicular to the line given is going to have a slope of 1/2. And then it gives us that y-intercept of 7. So now all we need to do is we need to write our equation. Y is equal to, our slope is going to be 1/2 x, and then our y-intercept is going to be 7. All right, number 3, we're looking for writing an equation for a line that is perpendicular to this line right here and has a y-intercept of -3. Now notice right now though that this -1/2 x plus y is equal to 12 is not in slope-intercept form. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to rearrange this so that the y is all by itself, and to do that I'm going to move this 1/2 x to the other side by adding it so they cancel out to the one side. So we're going to have, oops, I had that too far down. All right, so we're going to then, those canceled out, we're going to have our y is equal to 12 plus 1/2 x. All right, so again, we're looking for a line that's going to be perpendicular to this line right here. So our slope to this line right here is 1/2. So let's find our perpendicular slope. So the opposite of positive is going to be negative, and the reciprocal or the flip of 1/2 is going to be 2 all over 1, and I can leave it like that, or I can just write it as -2. And then remember, we've got a y-intercept is going to be -3. All right, so let's go ahead and then put it into our equation. We have y is equal to, our slope is -2, and that goes with our variable, and then we're going to have -3. So on the graph, you would have then, for our first one, this first equation right here, you would have started at the 12 and gone up 1 over 2. And then our second equation, we started at the -3, and from there we'd be going down 2 over 1. And notice then, and this is not a perfect drawing, but that we would have a line, if our lines are all straight, that is perpendicular to that line. All right, in example number 2, you're asked to write an equation for a perpendicular line given the graph and a point. So here we have a graph, and then we're given this point, and the point that we were given here is 4, -3. All right, so from that point, we need to write a perpendicular line. So let's go ahead and identify here the slope. So the slope of this first line, we're going up 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 2. So our slope of this line graphed is 4 divided by 2 is just 2. All right. So now we need to have the perpendicular slope. So our perpendicular slope is going to be, so the opposite of positive is going to be a negative. And then the reciprocal of 2 all over 1 is going to give us 1 all over 2. All right. And so what we need to do then, because we're given this point right here, we're not given a y-intercept. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at that point right there, and I'm going to do a negative 1/2 slope. So I'm going to go down 1, and it looks like I'm kind of going off the graph, but we'll get it close. Down 1 over 2. All right, so I also want to make sure that I'm getting the y-intercept at the right place. So I'm going to go backwards, and I'm going to do the slope a couple times. I'm going to go up 1, but -2, up 1, -2. That way, if I don't have a super straight line, I can still tell what the y-intercept is, because I will need that to write the new equation. All right, so we just graphed the line that had a slope of -1/2, and then it went through this point for -3. So this would have been the slope. And so our y-intercept then of our new line, the perpendicular line, is going to be -1. So now we need to write an equation for this line. And so we're going to have y is equal to, our slope is -1/2. That goes with the variable. And then our y-intercept is -1. All right, number 2. We need to write an equation for a perpendicular line that is perpendicular to this line given, and it's going through this point right here, and the point that was given to us is this 4, 1. All right, so first of all, we need to identify the slope of our original line. So our slope, we're going down 1, 2, 3, 4 over 2. So our slope is a -2, simplified to -2. So the line given has a slope of -2, but we want to now graph the perpendicular line. So the perpendicular slope is going to be the opposite reciprocal. So the opposite of negative is positive, and the reciprocal of 2 all over 1 is 1 all over 2. So we're going to go back to the point that was given, and we're going to do an up 1 over 2 slope And then I want to make sure I get the y-intercept in the right place. And so I'm going to go down 1 and then -2, because those two negatives make a positive, down 1 and then -2. So we're going to have this line that's perpendicular. And so the equation for that then, our y-intercept of our new line is, it's crossing the y-axis at -1. We're going to have y is equal to our slope, 1/2 x, and then our y-intercept is -1. In this lesson, we took a look at how to write equations for perpendicular lines.